Critically Chaotic is a rowdy Dungeons & Dragons podcast that consists of adult themes and humor. Content warnings for this episode can be found in the episode description as well as a link to transcripts. Because of some real-life circumstances, Selah will be missing for a few sessions, and thus Leif will be off on a solo adventure for several episodes. Due to real-life obligations, Queen could not make it to the session, and so Mogan will be absent from this episode. Rest, weary traveler, and enjoy.
In the last episode, the Vox finally brought Vae home. After rescuing her from experiencing her worst nightmares thanks to the mass cult, our weary adventurers were all too happy to collapse back at the Mercenaries Guild. When they got there, Snow gave a heartfelt apology, and she and Jerome tried to find some common ground again. In the morning, everyone enjoyed some breakfast, and Vae finally met Mitra proper. Now we find our party recovering from their ordeal, with Vae and Valen enjoying some time to nerd out together, and Kareus and Jerome resting up on the roof.
So Valen and Vae head upstairs, and Valen has his notebook, so he hands it. He probably, you guys get up there, and he'll let Vae choose where to sit, and then he'll just sit kind of adjacent, be it like on the floor or on the bed or whatnot, depending on where she sits. And then he gets out his journal and kind of goes through it in a way so that you both can see it while he starts talking about the things he's researched and points out like different things that he's not sure about that he needs clarification for, and then also assures Vae to just interject if he ever has anything wrong about Elven history in his journal as is, so that he can make corrections.
Dope. By that time, would I have finished what I needed to write out?
Yeah, I think so. If you were working on it when you woke up from your trance and then through breakfast, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, then I'd answer any questions you needed and we could just hang out.
Alright, cool. So meanwhile, Snow and Mitra, y'all finish up your toast, your shared toast.
Once we finish up everything, Snow kind of takes a second to like clean up the table that they've been sitting at, because she's a pig, but she has some manners.
But she's our pig.
Exactly. Once everything is kind of cleaned up and she's looking a little less disheveled from the adventures of the day before, she kind of looks over at Mitra and takes a second and goes, "Well, I'm not entirely sure what you wanted to get up to today. I would like to take some time to go find the local temple and maybe do a little research on some other temples that are perhaps not in this area. If you want to come along, you're more than welcome, of course, but I'm not sure if you wanted to head back home."
No, that's all right. I'm perfectly happy accompanying you. I didn't have anything really planned for the day or really the rest of the week. So I'm more than happy to come with you if you would like the company.
Snow smiles and, "Oh yeah, I of course I'd love for you to come. About the little bit of awkwardness earlier, I'm not entirely sure what to introduce you as, like a
Yeah.
friend, or
Sure. If you want us to be friends, then we can. But if you also wanted something more, then I'm also happy if you wanted to maybe possibly
so Snow kind of just goes, I also wouldn't necessarily mind something more, if you're open to that."
yes I yeah, if again, if you want to, I would be happy for and you can tell that she's getting like a little more flustered and embarrassed, but like in a good way, such as that first night on the um on her porch when you walked her home.
Snow kind of seeing that gets a little bit of confidence. Goes, okay, cool. So, girlfriends.
Yeah, yeah, girlfriends.
She grins, and like both of them are clearly bright red and blushing because neither of them really know what the hell they're doing. And she just kind of grabs her hand and goes, "Okay, well, shall we go?"
Yes, yes, let's go. And she accepts your hand, and you both head on out.
Uh, are we going straight to the temple or?
Yeah, she's letting you lead. So if you want to go straight to the temple, then absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna go straight to the temple. What do I know what temple this is the question.
I mean, are you looking for a particular temple, or are you just like, first religious building I see, I'm going in?
I mean, I would imagine that like there would be a main temple for the city because like usually there's a dominant religion. So I feel like she would kind of go to like where the main temple, like the biggest temple.
Uh, so Wingston is the home of the Leif family, which are the royal family of dwarves that rule within Ushdal, and therefore the god that is most prominent within the city of Wingston is Moradin, which is the dwarf father, and so that is the largest main temple that you come across in the Holy District.
Okay. So they're gonna go there, and what does the temple look like?
So the temple is mostly made of stone. There are often a lot of temples that are decorated with jewels or more rare metals such as iron, copper, or gold. But this one seems to be primarily made of stone with a lot of very intricate carvings into the front of the church, and there are a lot of tall windows that are streaming in light from above, but the windows are kind of so high up on the walls, and there's such high walls, very similar to old cathedrals that you'll see. That it almost gives the impression as though you're deep underground, and that's the light from very high above, like quote unquote on the surface, that is illuminating the temple.
Dope. Um, so she's gonna walk in, and is there like anybody in the temple right now? Like any religious people or just like people there to worship?
There are probably a few people that are there just to do general worship, but you do see a couple of holy men that are walking around that are dressed in religious robes. So you can assume that they are priests or clerics or otherwise holy people that work at the temple.
Awesome. I want to go talk to one of them.
All right. So the first one that you approach is an older dwarven woman who has a lot of very fine wrinkles set into her face, and she has round glasses that sit upon her pointed nose. And she looks to you and she says, Hello and welcome on in to the Temple of Moradin. How may I help you this morning?
Snow gives a very respectful smile and, oh, good morning. I'm a cleric, but I am of many different deities and not one specifically, and I was hoping to learn more about your religion. Would you be willing to show me to some of your scripture?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Come along, come along. And she guides you down the main corridor, past all of the seating, and to the front altar area where there are a few books that are up there. Some are on display, and then one is open up to some of the prayer scriptures that would be used within the service. And she says, "Is there anything in particular that you wanted to look at, or would you just like to look through some of the prayers that we give during our services?"
I would very much like to look through some of the prayers. I'd also wonder if you happen to have any sort of history books around your religion?
Um, yes, I think yes, we should. Let me go check in one of our side rooms. I'll see if I still have any of our history books on Moradin. I'll be back soon. And she leaves you to look through the scripture books while she heads on off to the side room.
Awesome. So Snow just kind of peruses through them, and she's reading the different ones, and just kind of taking it in and seeing how it compares to some of the other religions that she has
All right.
learned about. So yeah, she just kind of spends her time looking through that while she waits for the lady to get back with hopefully some history books.
All right. She returns about 5 minutes later, and she comes on over, and she doesn't have a book as the other ones have been, but instead she has a journal. And she says, I couldn't find any of the actual history books that I remembered us having. It might have been that one of our clerics had taken it to use for their own purposes this week. But I do have a journal of one of the scholars that likes to come in to learn more about Moradin, and it has some information about the history that may be of use to you.
Oh, wonderful. Would you mind if I, sat in a room for a while and read through this?
Oh, no, not at all. Feel free. You can just sit here and read through it. Just make sure that I get the journal back before you leave. It would upset our scholar very much if their journal were to go missing.
Oh, of course. Who is your scholar, by the way?
Yes, their name is Hiram.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll just read this. I'll make sure it gets back to you.
All right, yes, yes. Have a wonderful day, and if you need anything, feel free to call for me or anyone else.
Snow gives a very gracious smile and sits down with Mitra in one of the pews and just begins to read.
All right. We'll put a pause in there and hop back on over to the tavern to see what everyone else is up to. Um, Probably Vae and Valen are still talking through all the history, I assume, yeah?
Yep, sounds about right.
All right, so yeah, you both are probably going through history for probably a couple hours, and I am going to roll to see just how accurate all of his history stuff in his journal about the elves are.
I kind of want him to roll a natural one for no reason at all.
I'll
so
be
they
like,
can sound
no.
smart. No, he sucks at his job.
He knows about the Fae. He doesn't know about the elves. Nope. That's a 19 plus 6.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's definitely some things that you could correct him on. That wasn't a nat 20, and you grew up there, and you are an elf. So therefore, you do know.
Wait,
you're
I
like, oh
am?
yes, yeah, I know it's a big shock. I know. I've been keeping this secret from you for a while.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so you're able to point out like a few things that are wrong, and especially like some phrasing that needs to be corrected and improved. But for the most part, it's pretty well researched.
Cool. Probably after a while, like, sometimes when we're getting onto a specific topic about, I don't know, elvish culture or something, I'll sort of, like, branch off and, like, tell, like, a little story about something like that. Nothing personal at all, but just sort of, like, interesting things that happened and, like, just, like, daily life things that happen in, an elvish town that isn't getting too much into it, like not into like the deep stuff, but just like, oh yeah, like the tailors there, they have specific ways that they do clothing and just like random shit like that.
He definitely like whenever you start getting off onto a tangent, he like flips to a new page in his journal and is writing stuff down. Like, oh yes, yes, okay, good, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. So we probably take way longer than we should have because Vay just keeps popping off on the most random topics.
Valen looks ecstatic about it. He looks very happy every time you go off onto a tangent. So he's not bothered. Probably after After like a couple hours, he like sets the journal aside to stretch so that you both can take a break from just the reading, the talking, the storytelling, etc.
Yeah.
And he's stretching for a little bit, just kind of letting the silence slowly start to grow awkward because you all just been talking for like 2 or 3 hours straight. Um, and he finally says, um, "So, are you feeling, relatively speaking, of course, but you're feeling okay-ish?"
Yeah. After having a rest, it honestly had less of an effect on me than I thought it would. It sort of it's hard to explain, but seeing your deepest darkest fears over and over again sort of like creates the effect that you know it isn't happening in the present. Like it doesn't remove them or it doesn't change the fact that it's what you're afraid of, but it makes it a little bit less daunting. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but the most difficult thing I'm going through right now is the fact that I found that like I'm physically weak, so I can't do stuff that I usually would have wanted to after this, like I don't know, go on a walk somewhere, but I don't know. I'm feeling strangely all right.
Valen nods and he says, "Yes, I think I understand, relatively speaking. After I left my hometown, I had nightmares a lot, and especially one recurring one. But after I had it enough times, I would still wake up in a cold sweat, but I wasn't nearly as panicked as I used to be because it just became a really repetitive kind of a thing. It was almost like it was just emotion to go through. So I think I
Mm-hmm.
understand where you're coming from in that regard."
Yeah. Yeah. Nightmares are a strange thing. What are they like? I don't really get them since, elves trance and stuff, but like, how does your brain work against you like that?
Well, I've been told that typically nightmares are your brain's form of processing through hardships that you go through that you try your best not to think about while you're conscious. And so when you are asleep and your defenses are down, that's usually when your brain tries to take all those things that you've been trying your best to not process through, and it tries to process through them, but because you haven't taken the time to really analyze and go through them and build up proper coping mechanisms, they come out in a more violent state in your brain, which can cause a nightmare.
Hmm. Interesting. I've asked different people about it, and they often have different responses to it, but I like that response. Other people are like, it's sort of like your brain is showing you pictures. I'm like, okay, and it's like, get into the meat of it.
Yes, I've definitely had a lot of time to really think about why my nightmares happen, so I suppose I have more of a prepared response than most people typically do.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about having a more, I don't know, wandering sort of life? Like, it seems that you have the sort of skills to accomplish going out and getting in more dangerous situations, like you helped get me out of the that cultist hideout. And we've come across a couple of locations out in our travels that have had information regarding the Fae and history and all of that, and it gives you a different perspective than if you see it from the safety of your own home and your job and all of that. Have you ever considered following that sort of path instead of the one that you are currently on with working in the museum?
Um, I I hadn't given it too much thought, but my childhood and my young adult life was extremely volatile and didn't have a lot of stability to it at all. And when I left my hometown, I met Kareus shortly after, and we spent a year just traveling through Vusnakor until we could eventually get to Ushadal. And I just, after 2 decades of not, of always having to move, of having no way to just sit down and have a bit of peace in my life, I needed that in order to stay sane. So I definitely have training that could assist in an adventuring lifestyle, but I don't think that it would be good for me to actually go out and do it. Even though finding artifacts in their in wherever they are at the moment would be very fascinating, it's definitely not something that I can do as of yet.
That's understandable. Are you happy in your current life?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's nice being in a place and having a routine and still being able to do something that I really love and that I find very fascinating. Um, that was actually partially why uh Kareus and I went our separate ways, was just because we just wanted different things in life. He enjoys that kind of lifestyle of not needing to stay in one place, and I think it's good for him that he found you all and he has people that he can rely upon while still not feeling tied down to one thing.
Yeah, he does have quite a restless soul. Not the first I've met, but he's a good man.
And I think he's found some really good people to be with. And I'm grateful that he has people like you, Vae, to help keep an eye out for him while not being too smothering.
Yeah, in a group filled with individuals as young as they all are, it's sort of become my main purpose to be the one that looks out for stuff like that. Life experience really lends a hand when it comes to being in an adventuring group and knowing what dangers might be lurking behind.
Yes, I think you and Snow definitely seem to at least have a better grasp on kind of helping everyone stay in a singular mindset, and probably all those years has assisted you both in that.
Yeah, we work quite well off one another, you know. Anyways, did you want a glass of water? We've been talking for quite a long time and I'm sort of feeling my throat's a bit parched.
Yes, yeah, we should go and just take a break in the tavern and just uh, they usually have a band, so we can just go and listen to the music if you'd like for a little bit and just regain our energy.
Sounds lovely. And I will get up and start heading down to the bar.
And he shall join you. Meanwhile, up on the roof, lady, are you planning on Jerome taking like a full 8 hour nap in order to feel completely rested? Or are you planning on just taking like enough of a nap so that Jerome doesn't feel like he's about to fall over?
The second one.
Okay. So it's been several hours, and so probably after several hours of sleep, you could kind of stir awake from your nap and feel you're not 100%. You still have that point of exhaustion, but you don't feel so terrible that you're gonna like fall asleep at any second.
That was a good nap. Oh, I feel better. Oh. Hi, Kareus.
Hello. Kareus has just been sitting near Jerome, doing different sewing projects to keep his hand busy, but he's definitely been like also keeping an eye out, looking up every now like every other stitch or whatever just to make sure everything's okay. But he smiles morning at Jerome and says, "Did you sleep all right?"
I slept. Which is like all right in my book. Which, so, yeah. I slept all right. Yes.
Are you feeling a little better?
No. Yeah. It was rest. Rest is always a good thing. So yeah, I enjoyed it. What are you doing with that? Jerome gestured towards Kareus' current project.
Kareus looks at his he has like all of his winter clothes that he's working on. Most of it's old clothing that he's repairing. And he says, "Oh, I'm just winter's coming up, so I'm just working on making sure that all of my clothes are ready and um, good when the colder weather arrives. Um, I just working on that."
That's pretty impressive. I always just sell off whatever I ain't using at the moment in the current town and pick up a new set of clothes whenever I go into a different place that has different sort of inclemental weather to what I'm used to. Like desert's got all these different gobs, and then like when it gets cold, you got a different gob, and so I just constantly swap. But
Kareus nods.
that's pretty cool.
Kareus smiles and he says, my I get a little attached to clothing, I suppose. I A lot of store-bought clothing has it tends to the textures tend to irritate me. So I like to make my own because I was lucky enough to be taught how. And I have a hard time letting go of them, I suppose. I get a little sentimental, so I tend to just repair the same clothing over and over again. He lifts up the edge of his green cloak that he's always wearing. He says, "I've actually had this one for nearly 15 years now." And he laughs.
15? Jesus.
It was given to me by a friend, so I'm particularly attached to it. But if you have any interest in learning how to sew yourself, or at least furthering the skill, I'd be happy to teach you sometime. I love sharing the things like that.
Honestly, that would be pretty dope. Uh, I used to love watching the old tailor in home just go on for hours and just make all these different brightly colored costumes and do the most intricate embroidery you ever seen. And back then I did not have the patience to be able to put needle to fabric over and over and over again. It just did not. I was always rushing about, but yeah, it'd be pretty neat to learn, if nothing else than to fix things up, you know?
I understand. I like my hands can't be idle, really. I don't know how to stay still, so having that kind of repetitive motion is why I really enjoy sewing. But I know when I was younger, I was not quite that. Even that was a little too much sitting for me. Um, but yeah, I'd be more than happy to teach you. I can show you what I'm doing right now, um, if you would like, or we can also go down and get some food. I know you haven't eaten yet, and you must be much yet, and I know you must be hungry.
Yeah, I've survived off worse. You hungry though?
It's been a bit since lunch. I mean breakfast. I certainly wouldn't mind lunch. He's already packing up because Jerome needs food.
Sounds good. Did do you reckon Vae's still in the eatery place? Did you see her come out, or do you think she went back to her room?
Kareus shrugs a bit and he says, I doubt she's still in the tavern. I think she's probably retired by now, but I think it'll be all right if she sees you, Jerome. It's all right. You can come downstairs.
If you're certain, I'll take the risk, I guess.
Kareus gives him a reassuring smile, and he says, "While we're going down, can you tell me how to get down better? I I feel like I'm about to fall at any moment. I'm used to climbing trees. Buildings are a different breed, and I don't know what I'm doing."
No, yeah. They got different sort of handholds. No, yeah. That's valid. The thing you gotta do if you don't have any handholds that you can see, you gotta figure it out and make your own handholds or go off of things in your surroundings. Like sometimes there'll be like two narrow walls and you just gotta kind of shimmy your way in between them with like your legs stretched out between the walls and crawling upwards. Or sometimes there's gutter pipes that people use. I can use them because I'm not the most heavy sort of fella, but heavier sort of folks like Mogan might have more trouble. Sometimes ropes can be good, but they're a little bit too noticeable for my tastes. Parkour, have you ever done parkour? Parkour is excellent. It allows you to just kind of fucking bounce around like a ping pong ball. It's great. But I can show you a thing or two about getting up. For getting down, real easy, right here. See that tree over there? Jerome points to a tree that's nearby the inn because why, or the guild because why not? Use that. It's really easy, convenient. You know trees.
I do know trees. And like he's been like listening to Jerome, like paying a lot of attention. He says, "Is it close enough to just shimmy onto, or are we taking a leap?"
Oh, I've always just. I mean, I guess you could probably. No, yeah, you got to take a little bit of a leap there. Are you cool with taking a leap? Because I can lower a rope if you're more comfortable with that.
Kareus, he knows. He said, I think I'm willing to give it a try."
All right. Let me hop over first, and I'll be there if you stumble. Jerome leaps over to the nearby tree.
Roll acrobatics.
Yeah. All right. 13 plus 5, so 18.
You stick the landing on that tree limb.
All right.
Kareus takes a bit more of a moment to hype himself up, but then he also leaps over.
All right. I'm assuming that Jerome is going to like hold out a hand to catch you if you need, and so you get advantage on acrobatics.
Oh, thank God, because I just rolled a nat 1.
Kareus falls to his death.
That's a 13 total.
Okay. Huh.
Okay, yeah. I think that so like you take a jump, you don't jump quite far enough and you start to fall, but Jerome is able to catch your hand, so you're able to stay onto the tree limb before you fall to your death.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Done it a million times. It's no big. Tip for next time, don't look down. I think you psyched yourself out a little bit. And that can make you like kind of hesitate. Just pretend there's no fall. You just hopping from point A to point B, from like a chair to another chair, bed to bed. Having fear just holds you back. Just.
Kareus kind of gives like a almost like just like a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like his laugh is like kind of he's like, yeah, being afraid is unfortunately one of my prolific skills. But if I was in the woods, maybe I probably would be better about something like this. Cities are odd for me. I don't know quite how to explain it, but and thank you.
No, yeah, I gotcha. If nothing else, hey, I got your back. Whenever you decide to do some more roof hopping, I'll be there. So. You know, don't gotta worry.
Kareus gives him like a very soft smile, and he just nods. And and then I imagine they shimmy down together.
Yes.
You head on. So you get back to the ground, and then you head on in from the front door into the tavern area to find Valen and Vae that are sitting at one of the booths. Just they each have a glass of water, and they're not even really saying anything. They're just sitting there quietly while they're listening to a couple bards play some tunes in the corner.
All right. Has Vane noticed Jerome?
Have I?
Are you trying to sneak, Jerome?
No, Jerome does not expect Vay to be in the building.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but had to ask. What's your passive?
11. Can I describe, like, Vay's general, I guess her vibe?
Yeah.
That Jerome would notice initially? That might help decide. Okay, if Jerome, as soon as Jerome clocks Vae, I feel like he notices that she isn't as tense as she had been in the past, I guess, since the past, like, few days. Like, it had been, like, growing slightly, and it did reach a peak when they had their argument, but she doesn't seem as keyed up as you probably would have thought she would be. She's just sort of like sitting back, shoulders relaxed, watching the musicians perform beside Valen, just like in comfortable silence. Just she doesn't seem like she's in the mood to be angry.
Well, that begs the question, will Jerome put her in that mood? When Jerome first sees her, he's going to immediately freeze in place, and have a good few moments of, oh shit, she's here, fuck, and like strongly debate on just immediately about facing and going back outside, hoping she hadn't seen him. But ultimately decides, I probably won't piss her off with my mere existence. So continues to follow Kareus into the tavern area.
I think Kareus, when he sees Jerome freeze too, like puts a hand on Jerome's shoulder and squeezes and gives him like a "it's going to be okay" smile.
Jerome gives Kareus I don't know about that, but I'm gonna try it anyways, sort of shaky grin, and reaches down to his pocket that holds Alice and just kind of absently pets her a little bit, before slowly approaching the table that Vae and Valen are sitting at.
They would notice before Valen because Valen has a 9 for his passive perception.
Oh no.
Damn.
Because he also has a negative to his wisdom, but
not proficiency. Gotta love
Nope.
it.
He's like, I'm safe in a city after so long. I have learned to let my guard down.
Oh no, a fool. That's how all the artifacts were stolen, Valen, you should know.
He wasn't the guards on duty when they got stolen. Anyway.
Okay. As Jerome approaches, I feel like they would tense for a second as she like clocks him out of the corner of her eye, but then she would like relax once more after she like returns her attention back to the musicians, just like I'm already tired. I'm just going to chill for now. I'm not going to start anything. And she doesn't seem angered by his approach at all, just like a bit uncomfortable at first, but then it like levels out pretty quickly.
God. Oh, I did not plan for this. Jerome approaches the table, presumably with Kareus following?
Yeah, Carrie's gonna be trailing just behind Jerome.
Kareus just abandons Jerome. You're on your
Kareus
own.
leaves Jerome to flounder.
Good luck!
I'm not gonna be here for
I
this.
don't do confrontation. Bye. So yeah, the two approach the table, and Jerome gives Vae a little wave that she probably doesn't see because she's looking at the musicians, but he still gives it anyway. And says, "Hey, Vae, Valen, how's the weather?"
I haven't been outside, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, same here. We've been sort of talking about Elvish history the entire morning.
Oh, that sounds nice. The weather is nice. I've been outside this whole time.
Oh, were
so
you?
would like to confirm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The weather is beautiful. If you fancy a stroll in the park, great weather for that.
Unfortunately, I had a humanoid shade sap all of my strength, so unfortunately I can't go for a stroll in the park. But if you so choose to do so, I hope you have a great time.
Kareus, I feel like seeing Jerome just like panic is like, do you, Jerome, why don't we go get food? Does that sound good?
Yeah, just. Okay. Just let me put this on the table before anything. I'm sorry you went through what you went through, Vae. That's always a tough experience. Not gonna make you say anything about it that you don't want to say. But if you have anything that you want to get out, I'm a good sounding board and a good, straw punch dummy if you want to get angry at anybody. Because when you get in that sort of situation, it's understandable to be angry. Just if you got any aggression or bad feelings that you just need to put out into the world, I'll be there for you. But you don't gotta do anything. No pressure. Just take your time. Feel your feels. I'm making this worse. I'm gonna go. Have a good day. Feel good. Better. Okay, bye. And, Jerome quickly about phases and, makes to walk away.
I feel like as Jerome was saying that, Vae had sort of a faint look of what is this guy on as he was going on a tangent, and then afterwards, I guess Valen would see this, but she has a little bit of a little look of satisfaction that she put the fear of God in this man. Just as a little bit of retribution on her side, and then she just sort of comfortably settles back into her chair and just sort of a little bit self-satisfied, but she seems great.
Kareus kind of gives both Valen and Vae a very awkward, okay, bye, wave, and turns and follows after Jerome.
Vae waves back to Kareus and just continues to watch the band, a little bit befuddled at what had just happened, but having a good time.
What in the world was that?
I truly have no idea. I've never had anybody approach me and say, "Hey, if you want to use me as an emotional punching bag, go ahead."
Yeah, that's concerning.
I mean, it's Jerome. Almost everything about him is concerning. It's not anything new.
Valen looks more concerned about the exchange, but he doesn't really get up to go after him because Kareus went after Jerome already. So he just awkwardly tries to settle in to continue watching the band, but he glances over towards where Jerome and Kareus scurried off to.
He's fine. He's just he made he made some mistakes that affected the group as a whole, and he also made a big mistake in, and she sort of leans closer and lowers her voice, in stealing from my personal items. And he feels guilt from that. Also, since I laid it out on the table, being like, that will never happen again, and you need to learn from your mistakes, all of that. And it all came to a head, and then I got kidnapped, and now it just sort of feels like I'm over it. So that's what that was about. And now he thinks that he's my emotional punching bag when it was truly just me trying to make him understand the how his actions affect the group now that he's in a group. But I'm not sure if he understood that part of it, which was the main part. But that's about everything that happened. Group politics, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's hard being the old one.
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
So what's up with Jerome and Kareus?
I'm guessing they, or at least Kareus is gonna, like, guide Jerome to get food, and then maybe to, like, a different table. Probably a little ways off from Vae and Valen, because Vae seems to be making Jerome extremely nervous, but I think he just, like, gets them some food and gets them a table.
Jerome is just kind of like very woodenly following along, like very consciously not looking over in the direction of Vae and Valen the entire time.
I feel like once they're sitting down, like, and probably, like, he probably gives Jerome, like, a little bit of time to recover from that, um, emotionally before he says anything, and, like, he just lets them eat in the quiet, and he says, before finally he says, uh, Jerome, can I ask you something?
I mean, no, yeah, you feel free to ask. I will qualify. I might lie, but I try not to. But I'll let you know it. Would you rather I lie about answers or just say I don't want to answer? Because I can do both.
You can just tell me you don't want to answer. You don't have to tell me anything that you don't want me to know or lie to cover it up. If you don't want to answer, I'm not going to push it.
Neat. Some people prefer pretty lies to lack of truth or honest truth, so just putting that on the table.
Not one of those.
Fair enough.
But Jerome, yesterday, you seemed more than willing to let Mogan wail one out, I suppose. And today you said all of that. You know you don't deserve to be hurt just because you did something wrong, right? Like, we're still your allies. I don't think, I, no one should hurt you, even if they're angry at you.
That doesn't sound correct. Like, if somebody wrongs you and, like, does something wrong, you're like, people are allowed to get their pound of flesh. Like, that's pretty reasonable to expect. Like, if I go attacking somebody and they're like, oh, why are you attacking me? And they're like, and you're like, they're allowed to, like, get their pound of flesh from you and, like, take you to task. Remember? Or maybe you don't remember. Is this not a normal experience for you?
Kareus kind of, like, sits back. He puts down his utensils, and he thinks for a second, and then he says, everyone is, of course, able to feel angry. There's nothing wrong per se with being angry, but there is a difference between attacking someone on a street and someone attacking back in self-defense, and then doing something to hurt someone in an interpersonal relationship and getting a physical or emotional beating in return. Um, you there there are ways to express when you're angry and when someone has hurt you that don't involve attacks. And I he considers his words for a second, and then he says, I have been in relationships before, friendships, where I did think that was acceptable response to something I've done, and it took me a while to realize that's not the norm or the healthy or responsible way to respond to something. It's an eye for an eye doesn't is it's not a good thought process to bring to a interpersonal relationship, in my opinion at least.
I don't mean to offend you. This is just me being straightforward here, but honestly, that sounds kind of weird and not normal to just have that sort of thing going on. Like, people get strong feelings sometimes, and like sometimes they don't know what to do with their feelings, but just like, let them out. Whether that be like talking nasty or attacking, like, you gotta get those feelings out somehow. And people do it all the time, and it's normal.
Yes, people get strong feelings, but how they handle their feelings is their responsibility. It's not yours. It and it doesn't, just because they had a right to feel that way doesn't mean they have the right to respond badly. There are ways to let out those feelings. You can work through your anger in response to something, and you can tell someone when you're angry with them and how you feel and why it made you feel that way. And none of those involve he kind of I assume Jerome has been like punching his hand for emphasis from the sounds. And so he kind of repeats that motion with his hands, and he says, without doing that. And it it's not I'm not saying no one should be angry with you. Uh, that's everyone deserves to feel angry or hurt or however they want to feel. But I am saying that, Jerome, let me put it this way. If it was me or Alice that someone, or any of us really, if someone wanted to attack in response to something that we'd done, would you be alright with that from the outside?
Fuck no. God, I would kick their ass, or at the very least, make sure that their ass did not have anything to their person.
I feel the same way with you. I don't want to see you get hurt. I have serious doubts that the majority of us want you hurt. If we're still a team as far as I understand it, and I don't have a lot of experience with that sort of thing, but that I don't want to see you get hurt, even if you did something wrong.
Jerome looks very uncomfortable and confused and a little frustrated with the idea of Kareus caring about his like physical and emotional well-being, and just kind of like stews for a few moments before saying, fuck, if I can't, I don't know how to help, then it's, I don't know how to help outside of just being that sort of person, that sort of beatbag. Like, that's always been what's managed to help people before, is to have them be able to just let things loose, get them out, you know? Just, if I was able to help them feel better like that, then everything was fine and things got better. But fuck, just, I don't know how to help.
Kareus, like, kind of sets his hand on the table, like, palm up, as, like, a sort of offer for Jerome, because he doesn't, like, um, it's not, like, extended across the table. It's very, gentle, like, just if Jerome wants, like, a physical point of support. Um, and he says, I can understand what you mean, but like I said earlier, I know it feels better to feel like the anger has gone away, that you're not in danger anymore, so to speak, if the danger has already passed because someone has already gotten their anger out at you. Nothing else is going to happen with that because it's already said and done. Is it kind of that sort of feeling?
I mean, I guess a little bit of that. When somebody gets their angry feelings out, they're done with. Like, you can move on. It's inefficient to, and not helpful to have folks have the bad feelings and not being able to get them out in a timely manner, and makes planning a pain in the ass. So, just better to deal with them as quickly as possible, and
Yeah.
it helps. Yeah.
It helps in the moment, but I mean, if someone hits you, do you really feel, even if it was for something you did, do you really feel safe around them by that point? Does it really help the relationship between the two of you going forward? It, that you There's nothing to build off of when the base of the relationship is violence. You you can't Friendships and things like that, they're not, I don't have much experience with them, but I do know that the only friends that I ever felt good with were the ones that were able to talk things out so we could move forward together, which I think is better. I mean, it takes a little longer and it relies on the assumption that they can work through their feelings about you on their own and be honest with you about how they feel, but it makes a better relationship. It's not good to bottle those things up inside, but letting them out on someone, you've kind of destroyed any trust between you when you do that. At least for me. Even if you can still feel comfortable around them, like, it's not safe. It doesn't feel good.
I mean, it's never safe, to be honest. Like, if you go into any relationship expecting to feel safe, that sounds like a bad time waiting to happen.
I know what you mean, but let me... He kind of nods over to where Valen is sitting, and then he says, with the fact that I couldn't feel safe with him because of my own anxieties, it's normal to feel safe with people. It's what is expected most of the time. People want you to feel safe with them because they don't want to hurt you if they're pursuing any sort of relationship with them. At least good people do. And I think the Vox is made up out of good people, and I'm certainly not suggesting that you have to feel safe around anyone here. I don't. But with me and Leif, for example, I don't feel all the way safe, but I can, because I never do, but I can tell you this much, I certainly feel safer with him around, and I certainly know, I can most of the time tell the difference between what is my own anxieties and the fact that he doesn't want to hurt me, that he cares about me. I can at least try to trust in that much. It's how I feel better working with him, because even when I doubt, most of me knows I'm not going to wake up with a knife in my back when I'm near him. And I want him to feel the same way around me, because I know I would never hurt him. And I think that's... He kind of trails off, losing his words a little bit before finally... It's not good for you to never feel safe. I know why or at least I don't know why, but I understand feeling that way, but I don't think it's a healthy mindset, even if it does bring a level of security to your mind.
I hear what you're saying. And I haven't felt safe around anybody except maybe one person in a long, long time. And I haven't tried feeling safe around anybody but one person in a long, long time. But I know I got some things fucked up with my head. Oh, I'm very well aware of that. I have so many mistakes and flaws in the old noggin, but I guess that's why I kind of stuck around, to become better, to try and be better. So you actually seem like you don't want me to end up with a knife in my back. Or to put the knife in my hand to stab myself.
I very much so don't want either of those things.
So, I'm willing to try and go with the stuff you said about not helping by being a punch bag. If you think that's for the better. It doesn't sound like right to me. Not really, but how do I say this? I know you got the best intentions, and as weird as it is, you don't want bad things for me, which is strange, but thank you. So I'm willing to go with what you said, and try.
I think that's all anyone could ask. It's weird for me to be so attached to all of you so quickly. I don't know how that happened, but you're right. I do want you to be safe and to be healthy, and same goes for everyone, but I don't mean to. I don't want to make you feel like I am judging you in any way.
Oh no, it's fine. I don't take anything personally. You're fine.
I do just want to help if I can.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe from you. I do appreciate it, and I'll take that into consideration. Food. Yay.
Food.
Can't taste it. Let's eat it. Jerome very, very forcefully ditches the conversation and starts eating his tasteless food.
Kareus, does not push any further and just, dives into his food as well.
Critically Chaotic is a Dungeons & Dragons podcast brought to you by the following people. The DM is Xaan, who can be found as @Xandir on all platforms. Vae is played by Alex, who simply cannot be found. Snow is played by Bean, aka Alexa, who can be found in a variety of ways, but mainly @Alexandra_Jaden on Twitter. Kareus is played by Kian, who can be found as @LostFanboy on most platforms. Jerome is played by Lady, who writes, quote, "And that's all you get, you dirty gremlins." Mogan is played by Queen, who chooses not to be located at this time or ever. Leif is played by Selah, also known as Strawberry online, who can be found as @_strawberrymilk on Twitter. The theme song is Melody by Emery. If you would like to support Critically Chaotic, please consider leaving a 5-star review and following us on whatever podcast listening platform you are currently using. You can find us @CritChaoticPod on Twitter with no underscores, where we post updates and retweet fan content. For any other platform you would like to see us on, please look in the description. We will see you next week for the continuing adventures of Vox Anima. Have a great week, everyone.
Hi, I'm Lady, and let me welcome you to the ad break. Would you like to hear your ad posted on the Critically Chaotic podcast? Well, you can have it. here in the ad break, where we talk about nothing.
All right, ad break over.
We're stalling. Ad break over, bye.